Hey there, Descendants, my fellow Americans and people in other countries around the world. How are y'all doing today? Today, we're going to be kind of putting together a little bit of a retrospective video about the game. Not 100% retrospective in terms of like talking about the game overall, but kind of where we've been lately and where we're heading into the future. And we're also going to be providing a couple of constructive criticisms for the developers. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. So, firstly and foremost, whatever. Um, let's just talk about where we're going in terms of next year, not necessarily the November 6th update. I mean, we could talk about that a little bit, but the thing I'm most excited for is revitalization of Ingress coming next year, dude. Oh, that's such a huge win, and I honestly don't think that people realize how big of a win that actually is for the game. How huge this is. Oh wait, let me cook another
Magisters
cat.
are probably humanity's
No
real
Chinese.
hope.
I'm genuinely so ecstatic with that that being announced in the Q&A and stuff like that. It's such a huge win for us. I don't really think that people understand how big of a win that is. And that also means that eventually we will be moved away from siloed content in the game, which is also another huge win for us, man. Oh my god, dude. Like I don't mind siloed content, but being able to go into wide open areas and like the story maps and stuff like that and farm for new things is going to be so huge. I'm genuinely so excited for that, dude. I really am, bro. Like I really am. Uh I'm also excited for everything coming on the 6th. I think the ancestor mods are great and I think that the defensive reduction is a huge thing as well as a huge deal and I think it's actually for the better versus for the worse. Especially since it's going to give you X amount of power. It's going to make your descendant astronomically stronger to a certain degree, whatever degree. I don't remember the percentages. I just know that the defensive debuffs are actually quite considerable. I believe they're over 30% or around 30%. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, right? And it means that while yes, you'll be outputting more damage, you are also more likely to be able to die in certain areas of the game. And I think that's a really big thing. A lot of people have issues with this simply because it's like, oh my god, it's more power creep and stuff like that. But they're only looking at it on paper and they're not really thinking about how it can be implemented as into practice. And I feel like it's going to be different. I mean, obviously, every time we get a new update and we actually see it in game, it's different from what we initially think of the announcements and stuff like that. The first impressions of having it as an actual tangible update are always going to be different from our first impressions of the announcements, right? I mean, besides, like very basic things like, oh, they're giving out free skins and, buffing descendants and stuff like that. Like, that's pretty much the same in terms of being on paper and in practice. So yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of have to see how it works when we get our hands on it. But I'm thinking that it will be more balanced than people might be anticipating at the moment. Maybe not perfectly so, of course. There obviously will be adjustments made over time in terms of community feedback and stuff like that. Um, and people are also saying, that there's kind of a pattern where they power creep old content, then they introduce new, harder content and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, that's true. Definitely true to an extent. I mean, especially with Sigma Sector compared to Axion Planes and the new Void Vessel and stuff like that. Definitely. But at the same time, um, like if we're getting buffs to all Descendants and stuff like that, like at all times, like the community asks for it, it's just a given that power creep is going to happen. It's not really something that we can necessarily avoid or they can necessarily avoid. Now they can subjugate it by introducing more difficult content like they have been. And honestly, I don't think that pattern's the worst. I don't think it's as bad as people might be saying or thinking, especially with the ancestor mods coming and every descendant being, buffed to a certain degree. But I mean, I'm very excited. I'm excited to test everything out, see how it works on paper. I will be doing ancestor mod videos, by the way. And then I will kind of also probably tie those into how to use in terms of like descendants and stuff like that, like individual descendants. I've been wanting to do those videos for a while. Haven't really, I kind of forgot about it for a bit, but now at this point I may as well just wait until I get the ancestor mods. I can use them on the descendants. That way I can knock out two birds with one stone. I can see how strong the ancestor mods feel, and I can see, or I can show people how to use descendants who might be less privy with being able to use various descendants in the game and stuff like that. Let's get into some constructive criticism territory. Dark Vampire 95, you might know her on Twitter. She had suggested that you need to beat a 400% dungeon alone in a certain amount of time to unlock Sigma, and then do the same thing for Sigma to unlock Purge, and so on and so forth. And I think that's actually a great idea. And she's saying this in terms of, newer players not being able to compete in various content, even though they're Mastery Rank 18 or whatever the case might be. Their build's just not up to snuff, up to that level. And I genuinely agree with this. I mean, I think this is a great way to go about it. Give it a threshold of a certain amount of time in terms of completion. I think that's great. I think that's a huge W. I think we should definitely implement that going forward next on. And also, next on, while we're here, please give us an ETA 0 overhaul. I said this in a few videos ago, and I don't know if you guys have this planned or what, but in terms of ETA 0, we need to increase the ETA 0 voucher threshold from 600 to a higher number. I don't really know which number you would put on it, but just make it higher. And also, we need to make these items in this shop more expensive in terms of the yellow ETA vouchers. Definitely more expensive. We could buff this to 100. The slots to 100 apiece. We could buff these to 30 apiece. Everything right here. We could buff these to 60 apiece. Basically, just double the price of everything in here. And also, give us more items to purchase as well, because there's so much inventory fluff in terms of like extra blueprints that most players have by this point. We really need an ETA overhaul. Please, Nexon. Also, while we're here, can we please fix the keyboard disappearance glitch on console? Please? Thank you. It's been an issue since launch. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, but we definitely need that to be fixed. And I guess I could wrap up with, I'm excited, dude. 2026, the game is really going to start taking shape. It's going to be forging its own identity more and more. I'm expecting by between March and June that we'll see Ingress start seeing revitalization in Ingress. Sorry, English is hard today. And I'm expecting to see Daya somewhere between late summer, early fall next year, because they're still writing her story. They're still fleshing out the details and stuff like that. But definitely next year we're getting Daya, and as well as Daya, we're going to be receiving Ultimate Haley at some point next year. I don't have an estimation as to when personally, but I would estimate probably around the same time as Daya. Probably in late season 4, early season 5, if I had to guess. Probably going to be season 5 for both of them. We're probably going to receive Daya first, and then we'll probably receive Ultimate Haley in the next update afterwards. So less than a year from now, I'm guessing. A lot to look forward to next year. I'm sure they have a lot of other things planned as well that we obviously don't know about. I'm excited, dude. 2026 is going to be great. 2025 is ending off on a pretty good note, I would say. Season 3 is not the worst. Definitely not the best, but not the worst. And they really turned it around. They turned around the October update entirely, and we'll really have to see how that takes shape on the 6th of November in terms of the keys being available via events and stuff like that. But I think this is a big W for the community. I think on paper it sounds a lot worse than it will actually feel in practice. And I think once the update rolls around and people actually see how it works and see how it takes shape in the game, how it unfolds in the game and stuff like that, people's minds are going to change. They're going to be less skeptical going forward, and they're going to be more faithful in the devs and stuff like that. And before I end this here, not to get psychological, but I feel like a lot of the community kind of projects their own personal trust issues onto the developers, and obviously that's not fair to them. The developers don't know us personally, and vice versa. And that's why I made the video to where it's like, we need to trust the process. The game is still taking shape. It's still laying out its foundation, still figuring out its bone structure, so to speak. And while we wait for them to do that, we need to just trust them. We need to remain steadfast and patient. Patience is a virtue, my friends. Patience is a virtue. Anyway, I guess I'll end it here. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a comment down below if you agree or disagree. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Just please be respectful. If someone disagrees with me but they agree with you, or whatever the case might be, if they disagree with me, let them. Don't drag them for that. And yeah, let's just be respectful. Let's start a conversation. Let's have a discussion about this, and let's see where everybody's head is at. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.